Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all having a really great day. Today I wanted to try a bit of a test and see how long it would take me to create. I'm looking to do some bulk thank you cards that I'm donating to the there's a cause that I join here in my area, and they are creating hundreds of thank you cards for International Nursing Day. So I want to create a bunch of bulk cards. I've already done some, but I wanted to see how long it would take me to do 10. This is something that you can recreate if you want to do thank you cards, sympathy cards, birthday cards, all just basing on changing up the sentiment and the colors that you use. So I'm going to be ink blending directly onto card bases. So these are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So standard A2 size cards. And I'm going to set myself a timer and see how far I can get with 10 cards. Kind of talking to you in the middle and seeing where we go with that. Okay. So again, I'm doing it right onto my card base. I don't need to add anything else. So in order to make sure that my card base doesn't like flap open and whatnot, I am going to just take a little bit of painter's tape and kind of hold it down here. I'm also going to pull out a sticky silicone mat because this will help hold my projects to my work surface here. Okay. So I'm going to stick it down like that, and I'm going to put my card base down like this so it doesn't move too much. Then, in order to make sure that I'm not getting too inky dinky, because we know if you saw the last video, you saw what happened when I get a little carried away. What I want to do is I'm going to add some tape. I'm just taking some, these are kind of a nesting square. I think you might have seen this previously in a video where you can put this on your card base and you just ink in between this. So put this down. Fits has grids and everything like that, and you can just ink in between here. I'm not going to use that for this because I'm not putting that much ink on my card base. But what I want to do is utilize it to help not have any crossover or help contain where I'm stamping or sorry, ink blending. Okay. So in order to do that and have it hold quite well, I am going to, so I'm going to have to move this out of the way. I'm going to put a little bit of tape right down here. I want to try and keep it even like that. And this is going to create quite a nice hinge, but this is also what I'm going to stick down on my card base. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing on this one. And this will help create. Now, if I didn't want to use this, because I want to use my masking tape as much as possible. So we'll see how far along I get with this. But I could also just use the masking tape and create a border on my card front here. Yeah, I'm just trying to create a fairly even. Want this to be straightish at least. Okay, and I'm going to pick this up like so. Bring this back in here. And what I'm going to do is bring this in about there, tape that down, and we're going to come just to the edge of here. Okay, so you can see I'm just adding just a little bit of color area here, okay? Now I'm going to be using dye-based inks, and I'm going to start in my traditional, sorry, I'm going to put my blank ones off to the right here. Dry ones that I've finished are going to go off to the left here so that they can dry. And I'm going to pull out my standard colors that I like to use. So I'm going to start with some rainbow colors. Those are what I'm going to start with. Okay, so, okay, making note of the time, it's showing is 6:13 my time. Okay, I'm going to start ink blending with the yellow. And you'll recall in the last video, I talked about how you want to add more yellow than you think you need, bringing a lot of yellow in. Yellow. Hello, yellow. Okay, then I'm going to go up. So I'm going to bring in some orange, starting off of the stencil on my tape, bringing in the orange, bringing the orange down into the yellow. So, and we're going to do some red, starting just off the edge here. bringing my red down into the orange, which is going to intensify that orange just a little bit, give it a slightly different tone. Then I'm going to start moving down the bottom. So I'm going to bring in my new color. I believe this is Green Parrot. Yep, Green Parrot. So, and again, the inks that I'm using are my Lavinia Elements by Lavinia stamps. They are dye-based, so they're water-based. And with the green. Might not have room to get a purple on here, but that's okay. Let's see what we can get. So the next color that I'm bringing in is Blue Lagoon. Is the blue. Great color. Alrighty. Okay. And I'm just going to give this a quick wipe down. You can see that I did go off of it a little bit, which is why, again, I want to make sure that that's why I added the little bit of extra, that's why I added those extra stencils there. Just cause I am aware how I work here. So I'm just giving that the edge of the silicone there, a bit of a wipe. Okay. And I'm going to pull this off. But I want to pull the tape back in on itself, just like so. And we're going to do the same thing here. Hopefully. Yep, okay, good. Alrighty. Lifting that up, lifting off of the mat. And we're going to pick this up. And I still managed, look at, I think I had some red on myself and I stuck my finger down there. So I'm going to pull out my mono sand eraser and I'm just going to give this a little bit of a circular buffing. And that has removed it. There we go. All right. So I have a nice strip of color here for the first card. And we're going to pop this open. And put that to the side. Now, okay, I'm actually finding, let's see here. Used to be some blue still on my mat here, so let's give that a wipe. I'm not transferring it onto my card. Okay. A little bit of a dry. All right, next one is going to, let's push this in here. And this is sticking down well enough. I don't think I actually need to put the tape on the inside. So let's do, and I'm going to change this up a little bit. I want to add a little bit more of a border. So I need to make sure that this is relatively straight on my card front here. I'm going to come in here. If I stick that down, does that get, nope, that's not going to give me enough oomph. Not enough oomph. All right. So I want to make sure that I'm now going to hold this down. And I want to try and have a nice straight edge there. Okay, and I'm going to pick this one up. And I don't, like I said, I want to have a lot more space here. I don't know that it's a lot more, but I'm going to add more space this way. Okay. Doing another rainbow, and we're going to go up on this one. And then for the next two, I want to turn it around. I'm going to go horizontal. This is vertical. Then I'm going to switch it to going horizontal. Okay, so first color again, I'm starting with my yellow. Always start with the yellow when you're doing a rainbow. Just because it gives you the most area to work with. Sorry, the color of this one is Sundance. That's the name of this ink pad. Sundance, and I'll do a little bit of the russet orange. I want to try and not have quite as much this time. It did go into the red, brought the red a little bit down. So now I'm just going to bring that orange down into the yellow a little bit, like so. Red, which is, this is the Emperor Red. And I'm just going to start off on my tape here and drag it in from there. That helps to not get a dollop of color just smack down on your card, which makes it very difficult to have to try and ink blend that. And I want to bring that red. It's going to come down into that orange. It's going to change out the shade of the orange just a little bit. That's how we're going to get a nice blend coming up that way. There we go. Okay. Next color, we're going to come down to the bottom. So now we're going to bring in the green carrot. Dinky dinky, ink that up, tapping off into the lid. For those who don't know, I tap off into the lid instead of onto the side here because then I'm not wasting any ink. Because I'll often put a spritz of water in here and I can watercolor from my lid. That becomes my palette rather than wasting the ink that's in there. I like to use it. And as you can see, I'm still not going to have enough yellow. I got carried away with the orange and the red. How about that? Okay, next color is going to be the Blue Lagoon. We'll ink up. Starting off on my tape or my stencil here. Letting that take the majority of the ink to start with. And then I can bring it onto my card. This prevents me from getting those harsh lines and deep schmooks of color that I can't do much of anything about. Or you really have to put a lot of elbow grease into working and buffing out that particular color. Now I am going to stick on just a little bit of color here of the purple. And I'm just going to take that from the lid because this particular ink pad, if you saw the last video as well, it's very juicy. And if I were to use that, I would get this huge splash of wet color right there. Not fun. Well, it's perfectly fun. It's just, again, leads to more work. Not necessarily the worst thing, but when you're trying to, you know, bulk produce cards, you don't necessarily want a lot of work, right? Okay, and so now I'm pulling my tape off, pulling it off onto itself at a basically at least a 45-degree angle. This helps it prevent from tearing my project and my cardstock. Okay, like that. Okay, I'm gonna pull off this guy and I'm gonna pull off this guy. Pop this off the silicone, put it to the side to dry. Okay, give this a bit of a wipe. Wipe, wipe, wipe. Wipiness. Oop. Let's bring the ink onto my desk. Always awesome. Okay, see here. These guys are dry. All right. Next, this opens this way. So now, as I said, I want to do a horizontal bar of horizontal color. So I'm going to change the orientation of my silicone mat here, just because I bellying up basically to my desk here. And if I do the if I do my masking here, it'll be too far down. All right, so I'm gonna catch here like that. I'm gonna stick that down, so it's just gonna grab onto my edge there, and then I'm gonna pull in my tape like so to do basically the same here. It's going to hopefully be able to have a bit more of a border or a bit more central color. So as you can see, you can use your pieces of tape multiple times. Burnish that edge a bit. Okay, now we're going to go with the yellow again. I'm always starting with the yellow. Oh, and I don't think I said in the last one that my purple is the flying fig. All right, so rainbow's going to go this way. So let's get a lot of yellow coming across here. Yellow. Okay, a little bit of orange. Some red. Rainbows I just find are a very easy, when I'm color blending, I don't really have to think about the colors a lot. I know that they'll go together. There tend to be a very easy color blending to utilize for almost anything. Get well, thinking of you, happy birthday, um, you know, pet sympathy, even just regular sympathy, right? Like it's a generic color combination that you can utilize for pretty much anything. Or for, well, anyways, for a lot of options. Um, can use them for kids' birthdays, women's birthdays. You can even use them for guys' birthdays too. Green, do the blue. So, and what's really cool often when you pull in, like if your blue starts going up into your green, particularly if you've chosen shades that are similar, what you'll end up with is a really cool turquoisey teal color as the two colors kind of overlap or blend together. So that's nice. Last one here, I'm going to add in a little bit of my flying fig. And again, I'm going to just take this because there's so much, again, there's still so much on my brush. It's very juicy. So I'm just going to take that from the lid to start with. Kind of come in on the edge here, bringing in that purple into the blue. Okay. A purple. All right, let's give everything a quick wipe down before I try and lift and spread that around a bit. So now pulling off the tape, let's start from the left here. So, okay. All right, so we're about 14 minutes in. I've got 3 bases technically could be completed at this stage if I wanted to. Okay, bring that to the side. Wipe. So if you wanted to also for this particular video, if you just want to see how this process kind of goes along, by all means, you can fast forward, right? You don't need to watch me blending each one. But what I want to do is I want to see how well and how long it will take me to basically do this procedure, right? Down. Let's take, which side of tape seems to be utilized the least. Down. Down, just kind of catch the edge there. In. Buffing that in now. Same process. Second verse, same as the first, essentially. Yellow. A little bit of orange. Whoa, a little bit more swirly on that one. Okay. So you can see here I had a little bit more ink on my orange. So I've got a large deposit of color there. That's okay. So I'm just gonna continue to move that along my card front here. I'm gonna bring back in a little bit of the yellow. Brush, push that into the orange. Move that orange around a little bit there. So I want the ink between the two as it saturates into the paper. I want it mingling, moving back and forth kind of thing. So when you get a large blob like that, that just means you need to add more ink. Okay. So now because I have a nice deep saturation tone there, I'm going to come in with my red, adding more red to my brush and starting just off. And I'm going to come in here to the corner, adding more of the red tone, and then I'm going to bring that into my orange. That, softening it up as I bring it into, and again, I can bring that as far as the yellow because red and red and yellow will make orange. So all it's going to do is just intensify my shade of orange. Okay. So despite not meaning to do that, there you go. That's what happens. Okay, red, yellow, and orange are done. Let's pull over the green. So you can do this with dye-based inks. You could do this with pigment-based inks as well, but you really have to give them time to dry. Oxides would work as well, but again, you're going to want to give them time to dry before you do anything with your card. You want to make sure that the ink that we're putting on here, because we are putting on quite a bit of ink, that it has had time to dry before you do, because the next step is going to be stamping on top of this. So we're keeping it very simple, one layer cards. When you're batch card making, typically, you don't want to have to add in a ton of detail. You don't want to have to be doing a lot of die cutting, a lot of fussy cutting, layers and things like that, because you don't typically have the time. It's not that you don't always want to do that, but that you often don't end up having the time when you're batch card making. There's a reason why you're batch card making. You're looking for large quantities. See, look at, I just tapped it twice. Look at how much ink is coming off into my lid there. Almost, it's a good thing I did tap that off because I almost forgot how juicy this purple is. And I think I told you, but yeah, this is Flying Fig, this purple color here. Look at how intense that is. So I'm just going to bring back in my blue brush and I'm going to blend what's just the ink that's on the blue. I'm going to blend that again into the purple. There we go. Creating a nice blend. Okay. We're done with the rainbow colors. Now I am going to be doing, I have a couple other color families that I chose that I thought would make really nice cards. Okay, I'm gonna throw these away because they're pretty saturated and I don't want to mix up my colors. Oops. Oh, garbage too far away. There we go. All right, let's pull this. See, pull this to the side and pop that up. Ooh, that's really nice. Varnos, Varnos, Varnos. Okay, let's give this a wipe. Wipe. And I think I'm pretty good on this one. Well, get a bit of color on this one. All right. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to try something different rather than, because you might not have a silicone mat. I like to use this because it makes it stuff not move around basically, right? But it is not everybody has that. So let's just take our card and I'm going to tape this right to my glass mat. So what crafting surface are you using? Tape it right to that. Okay. And I'm good with that. Ooh. And I want this to actually be on this side. Come on, unravel you. Okay, so I'm just going to use my tape to give me a border here, like so. Okay, and I have some wider tape. Oh, maybe if I can reach it. Oh, there we go. Yeah. There we go. So, and this is just painter's tape, essentially. So it gives a nice, easy lift, basically what I'm looking for. So we're just gonna do like that. And I am going to pull out the first set of colors that I'm going to use. So it's going to be some greens. Yeah, greens. And I'm going to start with the lightest color, which is the lime punch. And I'm going to basically do kind of like an ombre or a I was gonna say tie-dye. It's not tie-dye. It's just ombre. So it's starting from the lightest color to the darkest color at the bottom here. And I noticed here that I am missing just a little, I've got a little bit of white showing there, and I can't have the white because I might end up blending over that, right? Okay. So starting with my lightest green at the top, and I did start just off of my on my tape. So I have four colors. Yeah, I'm going to be doing lime, parrot, pine, and then possibly pixie. So we'll see how that goes. Okay. So I'm going to bring my lime color down about a third, even though I have four colors. Typically, if I had four, I would do kind of like quadrants, right? Of doing divide the basic space by four. Um, but I don't feel like I need to do that. So now I'm going to, because I'm using the same kind of ink, I don't need to clean my brush. I'm going to a darker color, going to my green parrot. So I'm going to ink that up, tap that off, and I'm going to come in from the side, right into my lighter color and bringing that across around my darker down, bringing it across into my lighter color, bring it up, and then coming down. Because I want to make sure that that's now going to traverse up into my lighter color so that I can have that blending of the inks in the paper coming back and forth. And I want it to come down into, it's going to, again, going to come down into my darker color. Okay. Now I'm going to give this a bit of a buff off here because I want to bring in, and I'm going to go back to my slightly lighter color, coming in at my blending point, and I'm going to bring that down some more into my lighter color. This is how we get a nice smooth transition, because that's what we're looking for, right? Is the smooth transition. Okay, so the next color that I'm going to bring in is pine, and this is a darker color again, darker green. So I'm going to ink up, I'm going to tap off, and I'm coming in from the edge, starting with my heavier ink into my lighter color. Starting again, in, blending into this, to the darker color, slightly darker color. I'm going to take that all the way down because my last color is very intense. Okay, so now I've got only a little bit of ink left, or feels like I've only got a little bit of the ink left on my green. I'm going to come back with my mid-tone, and I'm going to come back in here, blend out what I put down, just like that. Okay, now I'm going to tap in. This is again a very juicy pad. This new one is Pixie Green. Lifting from my lid here, coming back in. Feel like that's a pretty good blend. We'll bring in just a little bit of my pine down into that deeper tone. Okay. Pretty happy with that. Now here, we're kind of coming up on, it's taking longer for the blending, but that's okay. So maybe I'll just do the other two color families and then we'll move on. I'll leave the last three cards. So I'll see if I can get 7 cards done. I'm aiming for less than an hour. That's my plan. So we'll see. Okay. Beautiful blending of the green. Okay, putting that to the side, giving my surface here a bit of a wipe down, tape a little bit of a wipe down because it will have ink on it. You can see. Go. Okay. Next card base. And I am going to pull out. So that was the greens, the set of greens, green parrot, and lime punch. Now, let's do some blues, deeper tones of blues. Okay. So these are going to be, these are pretty intense, these guys, and that's kind of cool. But so what I'm going to do now is, notice that way. Woo. Okay. Straight. So then, mm, there to there. So I'm just using the grid lines on my mat to line up with this. And I'm going to start with Delta Blue, or sorry, it's Della Blue. Like Della Reese. Does anybody remember that actress from the 80s? And I'm going to start, which way do I want to do this? I'm going to start with my lighter tone here on this side. Okay. So starting off my card, blending on, and I've just got 3 colors for this matchup. I don't have 4, so I want to make sure that I'm bringing this in more than a third. So I'm going to bring this color almost halfway across. This way, then I know I'll be able to blend my mid-tone into this color. Alrighty. Okay, so that was the Della Blue. Let's put this to the side. The next color that I'm going to come in with is dark denim. This is a pretty deep color. That's all right. I'm gonna add a little bit of ink onto my brush, tapping off. You can see here, it tapped off. It's tapping off quite a bit of ink. So that means I want to continue to tap because I'm not sure how much it's going to deposit. So definitely want to make sure that I'm starting off on the tape, bringing in that color. Swirling it out, swirling it into the lighter tone, and then to where my darker tone is going to be. Adding a little bit more ink, again, starting off on my tape or my mask, whatever you're using, and bringing it in. One's going to go in there. Now, I didn't use my lighter or my darker color on this one, so I can go in and bring this back in here. Make sure that I'm getting the nice movement of these 2 colors, these 2 shades together. Okay. Put that to the side. And now I'm going to bring in my deepest tone, and this is Midnight Blue. This is a pretty deep and intense color. Now, because I've already used the darker color, I'm going to tap off a lot here. So, and I'm going to start off on my tape and bring in nice big circles, moving that onto the paper, starting from the tape or my mask, whatever you're using, off on my board here as well. You can see that I've got lots of ink that came down here, and that's okay. I can pick it up from there, bring that back in. Add some ink, bring that back in, like so. Okay, so that's pretty much all I'm going to need for this darker tone. I do a bit of a wipe, because I do want to bring back a little bit of this dark denim right here in this center area here, where the 2 colors, my 2 darker tones are meeting. I want to make sure that I'm bringing that in. There we go. Okay. Pretty happy with that. Pretty happy with that. So let's give these a wipe off. Okay, and we're gonna lift the tape, pulling in on itself. And next one. There we go. Nice. Okay. Look at that really deep and intense color. That's nice. Very nice, very nice. Okay, putting that to the side to dry. Now wipe up the my craft sprays here. And this will be the last one that I'm gonna demo for cards, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so for this one, so the last one I did horizontal. This one I'm gonna do yeah, let's do another horizontal because we've had three verticals. Let's do another horizontal. All right, so utilizing the grid lines on my grid mat here. And I want to make sure that I'm kind of buffing that into place. I can even utilize my cloth here if we need to, so that I'm not getting ink onto my card front. Okay, because there is, as you can see, there's still quite a bit of ink, especially because I use that dark blue on here. Come on there. There we go. All right. And let's do this line right there. Sure. That works good. Okay. And we're gonna buff right along, or burnish, if you will. Whatever, we're gonna burnish right along that line there. Okay. Next color blends are going to be a series of pinks and purples. Okay, so don't know when the last time I used this pink brush is, because you guys know I don't use pink too much. So I'm just going to give it a wipe off here to make sure that it's going to take this color pretty well. So this is a fairly new, again, color to me called Spun Candy. Wait a minute. Yep, Spun Candy. And this should be a fairly light pink, pinkish purpley kind of color. And I have 4 colors that I'm going to be using in this color family. Okay, so I'm just going to put that to the side here. I'm going to pull out my purple. Next color I'm going to be using is violet chalk. Ink up. Tap off. I'm starting off on my tape. And I'm going to come back into my pink. Or the Spun Candy, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to take that over to the side here some more. Coming into making that purple show, that violet chalk. Now I'm going to add a little bit of ink onto my pink brush again, and I'm coming back in where this blend is here. And I'm making sure that there's a little bit of pink still showing. And I want to move that pink and purple between the 2 colors. Okay, so that's going to be it for that brush. There we go. Now, I'm going to move this one over. Now, I'm going to come in with my Flying Fig. That's going to be the next color. And as I told you, this is a very juicy. So we're gonna definitely start off on the tape because I have no idea how much color this is going to put down. And as your tape starts to lose adhesion, sometimes you have to drag upwards or downwards, whatever your stencil is that you're using or your mask that you're using. You want to make sure that it's not going to cross your stencil lines here, right? Or your masking lines. Want to try and keep as much that crisp white under there as possible, right? Okay. Gosh, that's a pretty purple. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to clean this off a little bit because I have to go back to the violet chalk, and I'm going to bring that a little bit more now in where this blending line is here, making sure that I'm getting a nice good coverage between my I want to say this is a fig something and the violet chalk, right? Yeah, Flying Fig. Okay. Now, the next color that I'm going to bring in is called Merlot, and it's kind of this wine-ish red color. Winey red, purpley color. And I'm going to bring that into the flying fig. Same process. This is now, we're 7 cards in, 2, 4, 6, 7, 7 cards. Process hasn't changed. Some of the colors have changed. Some of the orientation has changed, but the process has not changed. Okay, so that's going to be the Merlot. And I'm just going to take a minute and again, clean off my brush a little bit so that I'm not putting the Merlot color onto my flying fig. And I'm going to come in where I originally had the flying fig, and I'm going to bring that over the Merlot, making sure that helps to blend in all of the colors. All of the shades will move back and forth then as the ink is absorbed with the water, with the, because these are again all dye based. Now, if I wanted to, I could also spritz these because they're also water reactive. So I could get that beautiful bleaching effect. But you guys have been patient enough. So now we're going to move on to the next step of the process. Okay. Sticky. Pulling this off again at a 45-degree angle. And we're going to move that before I get some of the purple ink on there. Okay, so we're going to let those dry. So obviously the purple, the blue, and the green will be the last ones that we will use. Okay, so we've got 7 done, and that took about a half an hour, a little bit under half an hour. No, that's not quite true. Took 40 minutes about to do that. Now what we're going to do is pull out. You're going to need a stamp platform. We don't need one, but I highly recommend using a stamp platform. This way, then you can ensure, because you've already done your bases, and we're going to be stamping directly onto our card base, right? We're not pulling out a like a card front and going from there. And then you're also going to need some pigment ink because we want to make sure that we're getting really good crystal clear adhesion, really good stamping. That's what we want. All right, now, so I'm going to put this in here and I'm going to choose some sentiments. So I have this beautiful thank you from this stamp set. So I've got this really nice new, yeah, that is the stamp. So thank you. You can see it's got a few of these guys in here. And then I've got I think there's one, thank you for all you do. It's a sub-sentiment in this stamp set here. So I'm going to pull that out. Thank you. Ooh, where did it go? Thank you for all you do. Okay, pull this out. All right. Thank you for all you do. All right. So those are going to be my 2 sentiments. Now, I also want to add in like a focal image. Now, I have Lavinia items, like trees, things like that. I also have this simple stamp set that has a little bit of grass, things like that in it, which is very nice. I have some other trees here. So I've got this beautiful tree here. Just checking how some of them have stamped because I want to make sure that they stamp really well. And I also have these 2. It's an orchard grass and a field grass from Lavinia Stamps that are really quite lovely. So, and if you're never sure what to use, what you can do, pull out your acetate. Give it a try so that you can see what it's going to look like. Just looking for my acetate on my field grass here. Where did it go? Acetate for those 2. Boy. And it goes back in my little pocket here. Okay, so everybody pause your time because me pulling out my stamps, that's, that's just going to take a minute here. All right, so got that. Let's see what you guys, I want to try a variety of stamps just to make sure you guys should be utilize something from your stash. You don't have to be doing the exact same thing that I'm doing. Utilize what you have. That's going to be your best bet. Not that one. Where I go? No, not that one. That's what I'm looking for right there. Okay. Oh, goodness sakes. Theoretically, this is supposed to be easier. And it is because I have so many Lavinia stamps. I have done this to store them and to I can carry them in binders because just have too many because I like to take these. If I'm going to a crop, I like to take these because I can play with them all weekend without having to bring a ton of other stuff. So that's kind of fun for me, is what I like to do. All right, so I'm going to pull these guys out as well. All right. Okay, so I've got my stamps ready now. So let's test out a few options to see what I like or what we like, right? Now, we could do this and then do thank you for all you do, right? Could really have that up top here. That could be really lovely. Quite like that, actually. So I know I'm going to be using black pigment ink. And so I'm going to do, this is an acetate that you can get from Simon Says Stamp. It's very, very inexpensive. And what it does is it allows you to put your stamps down, and you can make sure that they're straight and everything, but you can also put them down without having to worry about getting ink because you can, you haven't done a great job stamping, like, or cleaning your stamps, you can still put your stamps down and it will just touch, the ink will just touch your, will just touch the acetate rather than getting on your card, which when I saw that, I thought, oh my gosh, that's genius. Okay, so now I'm going to put down this thank you here and line up this for all you do. Yeah, for all you do. So you want to make sure that you're reading your sentiment correct. Right. Sorry if my head's getting in the way here. I just need to get over top of it to make sure I've got it. So now I can swing my door over, pick this up, right? Put down magnet here. Okay, make sure that that's still out of the way. So I'm going to keep my acetate over here. Make sure that I still like the orientation. I've put the trees off the edge here just a little bit, and now I'm going to ink up. And the beauty about putting this in your stamp platform is that you can ink up several times because, you know, if you make a mistake, it's okay. We can fix it. We can add extra ink and have everything in the exact same spot. Now, because I have lifted my base here a little bit, I want to make sure that I'm noticing that I've aligned this to the 4 mark here, okay? Just in case my cardstock lifts a little bit. So now I'm just going to bring in my air hockey puck. It helps me do a nice little press down. And you can see here, I missed some of the U on the thank you. And so I'm just going to do a nice crisp. Now, because we're not doing necessarily anything else on these, we want to make sure that we have a really good crisp image. That up a little bit there. Like that. I'm just going to walk my fingers. Now, because this is a very fine sentiment here, I don't want to push down too hard on it because it'll blow out the lines on it. We're missing that U there. There, much better. Let's get a little bit more on that. Alrighty. Now I'm going to lift this one, and I have another. Check, guys. Look how nice that turned out. Okay. I have another one here that also has the vertical orientation, so I want to line it up. I do want to give my mat here just a little bit of a wipe because some of the ink from the edge of the trees did come down onto my the mouse pad or whatever you want to call this here. Okay. I want to put that in the same 4 space. I'm lining up here. Okay. Now I'm not going to put this down. I don't want to drop it, but I want to check and see, do I still like the orientation of that? And I do. Here we go. So I want to make sure that that's clipped down and inking up again. Now, I'm using black just because I think that it really stands out. Now, if I had let this dry overnight, I could, or if I heated it in order to dry the ink, I could also throw some clear embossing powder over this if I wanted to have this have a little bit of shine. That would be quite lovely. But again, we're bulk card making, so we don't want to have to add too many steps in for ourselves. We just make it more complicated for ourselves. But I could also choose to do one of the colors of the rainbow here. I could do a navy. I don't have to do black. Something is going on with this stamp. So it's still missing. Wait, that's nice and crisp. Let's just do a little bit more here. Sure we're getting a nice crisp image. Walking the fingers, especially over the areas where you know it's missing. There we go. Okay, we'll pull that one up. That's two. Okay, and again, I'm going to give a bit of a wipe here where my ink is coming off of my trees. And we had one more vertical orientation card. So I'm going to stick that one in here. Why? We don't need to move the stamps. Moving the stamps takes more time. So let's check this out. Do I like where the orientation on this is? I do. So we're going to do this again, just stamping it down. Again, this is how you get the bulk cards made quickly. Because once your background is done, poof, here we go. So I've been doing this, the setup, and I'm not counting the time that it took me to pull the stamps, because that was that was just clumsy, is what I would say. But here we go. So this is something that you could do, let's say next year for Christmas, if you're doing Christmas cards and you've got a ton of them to make. I know about you guys, but I make probably about 150 Christmas cards a year. This isn't always the thing that I do, but my mom makes some for her seniors friends, things like that. This is what I'll do. So I'll do shades of blues and purples, and then I can come in with some stamps of snowflakes that I can do in white and silver and gold and black or whatever colors. Okay. And then stamp in gold or whatever, Merry Christmas. Oh, look at how nice and crisp that is. Benefits of using a pigment-based ink, and a really good one. VersaFine Clair is one of the better pigment-based inks out there. I always get a very nice image stamped, like really great stamped, crisp image from using those stamps. Okay, so now I'm going to pull these trees off because I'm going to try something different. We don't always want to do the same old, right? Now, let's see here. I am going to pull one of these guys because the rainbows are still dry. Well, the rainbows are the most dry, right? Now, let's pull these in, and I want to use, so I'm not going to put in, now I could just do something really simple like this. This is quite nice here, right? Like that. The other one that I could do is, I did like this grass here. So I got show you what these two look like. So I have this grass here, which could come in right around there. That looks quite lovely. Oh, sorry, guys, I'm almost out of frame now. You can't almost see that. Okay, so I could do that there. I also quite like this one. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with this guy here. So because I'm using that one, and I don't know, again, I don't know how well I cleaned it off. And because it's me, it's not always well. So I am going to come in and I want to stick my stamp right here. So I'm going to stick my stamp a little lower. So the black, it's going to come in off of the white and then come into the rainbow area. And I'm going to use the same sentiment. Thank you. I'm going to do thank you right up here, maybe. Thank you. Like that. And for all you do. Oops. I have to do this backwards. So thank you. That. I think I want to try and move that in. Yeah. I'm going to move my for all you do over. And I'm going to drop that Y a little bit. There we go. That's a little crooked. There we go. Okay. Nobody move. Nobody breathe. Ooh, do I want that in over a little bit? Okay. Look like below the thing. Now, do I want it to come here? No, I think I want it. Yeah. Yeah, there. Okay. So according to my acetate, where I want this is just off of this to keep everything kind of centralized there. All right. And we're picking up. So you see how long it takes to maneuver and to move your stamps. So that is going to be one of the things that is going to take you the longest. So that's why you want to try and keep your orientation one way or the other. It makes it much simpler rather than having to pick up and move your stamp off of every single oh sorry, you guys can't see that off the edge here, so I'm just inking up now. Rather than having to move your stamp with every single card that you put down, if you keep your orientation roughly similar, then you don't have to pick up and move your stamp every single time. Okay? Because you have to reposition it, you have to make sure it's straight, see if you like the orientation, etc., etc. So again, use whatever silhouette stamps you have. Choose a sentiment. Technically, if I wanted to, if I didn't have the extra little, getting a little bit of ink here, so I'm just going to give a little bit of a wipe. Do that. And I appear to have some sort of glue on my stamp platform. Awesome. Great. Technically, if I didn't have my, what do you call this thing here? The silhouette, I could, if I wanted, maybe cut some pieces of gold or silver and just outline this, and just do thank you for all you do. That I could do. I could also take a felt marker and just line where I've got like put a black border, take a black felt marker, Jiffy marker, whatever, and just do a line here and a line here, and then thank you for all you do. And then that frames it within there. Let's say I don't have the I don't have a bunch of silhouettes. I have many silhouettes because truthfully, I have a problem. But maybe you're fortunate and you don't have this problem because, I don't recommend it for everybody. What I will say though is I got this stamp set. I actually got this stamp set off of Temu. So it's just a simple silhouette stamp set. But what I've gotten out of it and what I've used it now, I think I've used it for about 50 different cards. Like because it's just a really simple yeah, it's just very, very, very simple. Now I don't believe that I had that all the way down. I have to check the orientation because this is slightly wider. So I want to check and make sure. So I'm putting my acetate in. I think move this down a bit, like so. Might have actually put that right down in the corner. I think, oh no, yeah, okay, that's gonna have to sit like that. All right, okay, so that's where it's gonna sit. So I'm about 1/8 of an inch up. So you notice here that I'm paying attention to where my alignment is at the bottom in case this moves when I go to lift it, because that happens, right? Ideally, the best thing about a stamp platform is that you can put it back, and re-stamp in some places. And I'm just giving my stamp here a bit of a wipe because I'm noticing that I'm getting, ooh, and that moved too. I'm getting some fibers from my baby wipe. So I want to make sure that I'm buffing those away here because they're leaving little dribblies of ink on my card, which is not the look that I'm going for. Go figure. And this, a little bit carried away with my ink pad there. Also got carried away with it right there. A bit of a wipe there. Now, because this is a pigment ink, it will stay wet longer. So if I had taken the time to dry my colorful ink, so my dye-based inks that I put onto the card, if I had taken the time to dry them thoroughly, so even though, the rainbow ones were sitting there for 20 minutes, they are still very wet. If I were to put embossing powder on them right now, it would stick to all of it, which could be a kind of cool look, but I wouldn't be able to stamp on top of it then, right? Like if I put embossing powder on this, then I would have to cut out a sentiment or use die cut or stamp onto something else and cut it out to have the sentiment basically, right? But if I wanted to, this is the black ink that I'm using is a pigment based ink. Whoa, that's nice and crisp. Look at that. Ooh, look at that. Woohoo. Just tickled with myself here. Don't mind me. Don't mind me. Okay. I think we did. Oh, I already did the green. Let's do the blue. And I am going to bring that up a little bit. I think we're going to have to change change this a little bit. So what I'm going to do is, because these are slightly more narrow, so I'm going to wipe off my stamp here, and I'm going to choose a different stamp. Probably going to use the same sentiment though. Just showing you the same, what it looks like, even if you don't have a ton of them. You don't have to have a ton of stamps in order to make this work, which is again another reason for utilizing this particular technique, because it's you know, if you don't have a lot, you can still make really great cards without having to have a ton of your own stamps, etc. I want to do a tree on this side. But I want to do a bigger tree. I think. I want to do a bigger tree. Hmm. Yeah, I do. But I want it to be, let's see, how did that guy stand? I do. Again, everybody hit pause or fast forward through while I dither here, okay? I think that's kind of interesting, isn't it? I don't use this stamp very often, but it would be kind of interesting to use that as like an umbrella almost, right? I think that could be kind of funky. It's not one of my favorites, but I like it. So let's see what happens if we use, and it appears that it's stamped out quite well, which is why I have these things on these acetates. So it keeps everything together, but it pulls it out. But you can also see here on the back of these, before I laminated them, I also stamped them out so that I could see how well they stamped. And see here, no, it didn't stamp very well. So again, that's a one that I didn't use very often. So what happens if I were to do like that? And then I put my thank you for all you do right here. That could be very funky dunky. What do you guys think? Let's have a looky see. Okay, so I'm going to pull out my acetate. Okay, so I'm going to move this up. I want to put this at the 4 position so that I know that it's up enough just in case. Stick that down. And I want to do, so if I do this, stamp that tree just kind of off the edge, but can I get this in here? Let's see if I bring that in and I go, thank you. Oh, thank you. Oops, don't move. Thank you for all you do. Okay, so this might have to be, this is going to be a 2-process stamp then. Awesome, because I'm going to have to fit these on after, because these tendrils of the tree are hanging down. So I liked it right about here. I like the tree kind of hanging off a little bit. So let's scooch that down there like that, mostly straight. And we're going to pick that up, that, pull off my acetate, pull off this acetate. I'm going to stamp this down right here. Actually, I think it'll be well out of the way. Yes, it will. Okay, so I'm going to stamp these down and then, but I'm also going to do the other purple one because it has the same basic orientation as this tree. Over and use my hockey puck. Or it's not actually the puck, it's the this is an air hockey brush that I also got AliExpress or whatever. You can get wherever, sports goods store, whatever. It's just really awesome because what it does is it helps add a little bit of pressure without having to use my fingers, but it also spreads out that pressure so that you get a nice even coverage without blowing out the lines. Okay. Oh, that's so cool. All right, so now I want to bring in my purple one. Okay, I'm going to put it here. And we're going to see where, oh, look at how well that goes. Yay. Sorry, guys, I'm just a little excited for myself. Not to worry, not to worry. Always nice when you go and because again, I was just doing taping on my glass mat, right? So I don't know. Could have worked out, could have not worked out. And bring that over. But the border here at the bottom works out really nicely. It's almost in space, almost in place there. Go there, and one more so that we get a nice crisp black full silhouette here. Okay, so now I've been filming for an hour. I've got sentiment, just the two sentiments to do. And then technically we're done. You can add flat back pearls, whatever floats your boat that way, right? If you want to add some bling, or again, because we're doing this, so I'm going to put this to the side for a second so I don't smudgy it because it is pigment-based ink, so it's a little wet. So actually, if I were to show you, do I have just a schmutz piece of paper here. Schmutzy piece of paper. That's a card. This is a card. So I'm going to take this. So this is going to be a card front someday. And I'm just going to blot this off of the top here so that I don't smudge it. But you can see, look at how wet that was. Still picking up the ink. And even some of the ink from here still. Okay, so now I'm going to bring my acetate over. And I'm going to put that down because now I want to line up my sentiment. And ideally, I would like my sentiment to sit. Thank you. So I'm going to put this for all you do. I'm going to read it and make sure it's going the right way here. Okay, so thank you. For all you do is going to come in just underneath the blue here. And this thank you for all you do. Like that. Let's pull this off because that's not going to be helpful. Pick that up. And I might have to reline that for the purple card. So we'll see. Just because that might be slightly off. But let's ink this up. Nice, crisp. Nice and crisp. Walking that along here, just like so. Go. Miss the bottom part of the U. Okay, and pigment ink, okay, sticks to your stamp. So it usually has a silicone or some sort of a solvent. It has something in it that makes it adhere, which is why it stays wet longer. But it sticks to the stamp, so it doesn't absorb into your paper. So it needs friction to move from your stamp to the paper. So that's why you want to have it hold there. You want to give it a little bit of a walk like this. These are some of the best tips and tricks for using your inks. Because dye-based ink absorbs into the paper. So, but that's part of why it doesn't actually give you a really crisp stamping because it absorbs and then kind of leaches out into the paper. It's a lot like when you're coloring, when you're using alcohol inks and it moves out, or you move it, the more saturation you get, the more it moves, right? So you don't get a nice crisp line versus pigment inks are meant to just stay on top. They don't absorb into the paper. Oh, yes. Look at how that's very nice. Ooh, I am just tickled with myself. Okay, so as I did on the first one, I am going to blot this just a little bit because it's still wet. And I don't want to get too much, see even deeper now. I don't want to get too much ink possibly on my card. Okay, so let's see, where is this sitting? Now, I think if I were to bump up my card just a scooch, let's see there. I want it to come down just a bit. So I'm going to get this out of the way because I can't see. I want to keep my finger in there. See if I can get that down just a bit. Just a bit. And that might have been just too far. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to stick this down and I want to make sure that I've got a good hold. And last sentiment. Okay. A bit of a press here. Yep. Getting good coverage everywhere except for the bottom part of that U. I don't know why that's not coming through there. Must be because the sub sentiment might be a little taller than the other one. Oh, look at how nice that turned out. Okay, before I go and close this here, I'm going to do this. Get it on my mount here. Okay, guys. All right. Well, that's going to be 7 cards. I'm going to continue and make the last bit of the move this one because it's still got ink on it. Um, look at how nice, crisp. Okay, so I'm going to continue on and I'm going to finish these cards. So a set of 10. But okay, so in just slightly over an hour, let's pretend that it didn't take me so long to decide uh on my stamps, etc. But we've got 7 cards and these are completed. Nothing else has to happen to these. These are perfectly simple, well done, nice, bright, colorful cards that I think would make beautiful thank yous with sympathies, happy birthdays, um, thinking of you, just a note, celebrate, congratulations on your retirement. All of these will work really, really great. That's the beautiful thing about a simple sentiment and a simple silhouette and basic ink blending. So what you'll need is you'll need a couple of colors of dye-based inks. If you don't want to invest in too many, get a red, a yellow, and a blue. You can make rainbow then. You'll have everything up to a blue, red to blue. You can even make purple, right? So 3 colors of ink, and then get yourself a silhouette stamp, what basic sentiment stamp, and black pigment based ink. And the one that I recommend the most is VersaFine Clair Nocturne. It will give you super crisp images. Anyway, that's going to be the class today, guys. I hope you really enjoyed that. Like I said, I probably could have gotten the other 3 cards inked in about 10-15 minutes, but I didn't want you guys having to hang out for that. It was long enough as it was. But 7 cards in an hour, not too bad. Really great for bulk batching. You can also do, if you just want to bring out all of your inking, do all of the inking, make 20 cards, 30 cards, whatever you need to do for your bases, make all of those, then pull out your sentiment, then pull out your like your silhouette and your sentiment and stamp, 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 stamp. So do it in batches that way too, 10 at a time, 20, 30, whatever you need to do. Get that all done. You could stick on, like I said, you could stick on a couple of gems or some Nuvo drops or a little bit of dimension, but they're actually really nice even without that. Nice and cheap for mailing, and single layer cards. You're all done. Okay. Hope you enjoyed the class. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe. If you're not subscribed, I'd love to have you continue to join me. Remember to keep your comments kind. Please let me know if there's anything else that you would like to learn or if there's a technique out there that you've heard of and you're like, what the heck is that? Love to be able to help out with that and see if maybe I do know it, or if I don't, let me see if I can find out about it. Um, if you enjoy having the class length videos and crafting along with me and would like to help support me, I do have my Buy Me a Coffee link down in the description below. It's up to you if you would like to help, but anything, I really do appreciate it. If you choose to. If you choose not to, then I will see you guys in the next video. Take care of yourselves and yeah, have a wonderful day. Happy spring, everybody. Bye-bye.